Okay, embrace today and thank God for all He has done. Maddie Jewel Baird. This is a fantastic project. Uh, love this main image here, and this hair. That's awesome. And this hair is awesome. There's a lot of joy in the expression on the face, and the images are fantastic. Uh, there's some blending up here that needs to happen that it still isn't quite finished. It looks like uh, this was cut out with scissors, and it needs to blend more smoothly. The typography is in a good place, um, but I would recommend that you try some other options, primarily because right now it is left aligned to this. Well, it doesn't look like it's quite aligned. So see how the word and comes in a little bit and Maddie comes in a little bit? Just let everything line up. But I would say align it to here. And what I mean is, not exactly to this place, but I'd say if you're going to put the text on this side, then right align it. Okay, so it will unify it with this running person. If you move the text over here where it would have more space, then you want to leave it left aligned the way that it is. I'd also think about the proximities. So the distance between these lines, it's called the leading. That leading is way too big. So right now, every line is standing on its own. There's not a relationship between these lines because they're so far apart. And you don't want them to be crowded, but you do want them to be unified. So I would move at least these three lines closer together. And I would make embrace today even more different than it is right now. I don't think I would capitalize thank, and I think I would take this last quotation mark off. Okay, hope that helped. Let's move on to the next one. Wise men still seek him. There's some good things going on here. There's a lot of things going on here. So there's this image of the temple and the three wise men, an image of the three wise men, and then an image of the hand on the scriptures. I think this message would be clearer if there were only two things going on instead of three. And I think you can get your message across with only two of these images. I don't think that the blending of these two images right now is working. Actually, this image isn't blending very well either. So you might look at other images to use, or work on making the images work together better. And then one thing that's really tricky is that your text doesn't have space. So it's trapped up here between the point and the top and the building, and that's not really enough room for it. Give your text some space. And then think of all of the principles of design, all of the focus principles, your message, your audience, your contrast, your unity, your simplify, all that stuff needs to be working together. So like these two lines aren't quite close enough. The difference between him and seek isn't quite enough difference. So you need strong contrast, you need a strong alignment, you need white space around your text and don't crowd it up against things. And maybe some repetition so that something here repeats something in the images. Honestly, I'd really work on that typography. And yeah, hope that helps. Okay, everyone wants to be a beast until it's time to do what real beasts do. Okay, there's a problem here with this word beasts. Be sure that you check that word. There's something about the way that you've pluralized it that isn't quite right. Also, you've right aligned this to the edge where there's a lot stronger place to align it, because you've got this strong place right here in the image. So if you could get the text to fit to the right of this invisible line, then that would unify it not only with this, but also with this gentleman here that's down below. I really like this texture that you've put in here. And this green, I'm wondering where it came from, but it makes sense. It's a Seattle kind of a green and blue, and I think it's working. I would work your typography so that there's a clear main idea, a clear focus. Do we need to have beast and real beasts both, have the contrast? Or could one of them have the contrast to really clarify and simplify this message? Do we need to have a space here? Everyone wants to be a beast. Doesn't that go with this until it's time? I think that there needs to be no space, no difference in spacing between all four of these lines. The Montage stuff is working well. The head of this football player is creating a tangent right there with the top of the image. So I would say either move him up or move him down, but don't have him be right there on the very edge. All right, I've already talked with Austin about this one, so I don't think that I'll say much here because we met in my office about it. I've talked with Danielle about this one, so we don't have to talk about that one. Don't give up, don't you quit, you keep walking, you keep trying. There is help and happiness ahead. It will be all right. Who said that? Is it from a song? I'm curious. If it's anonymous, then don't put the attribution of the quote, but if it's a band or a real person, I'd love to see what this is from. You've got a little bit of contrast here, but notice size and weight is about the same. So I would say make it more. Also, you're left aligning it to the edge. Why not right align it to this guy right here, or to this person, this hiker right here? Also, you've done a really nice job blending your images, but they aren't montaged. Now, a montage could ruin this project, montaging it, but that is a requirement. So you'll have to decide if not meeting that requirement is worth a couple of points and you want it to look not montaged, or if you want to do the montage, just be sure you don't ruin the way these images are working together. So by montage, I mean that pixels have to blend. Right now, things are cut out, and there's no blending, smooth blending of pixels. Okay. I've said a little bit about your typography with alignment and contrast, and that's probably enough said. Just be sure that you have some good contrast here. You might also, I guess, let me just say one more thing. Think of color. Your text has to be readable. It has to have space. And I don't think this color is the right color. It's not readable on that background. And it doesn't feel like it goes with this image either. Although I guess I can see that color up here in the sky. Maybe that's what you were going for. Okay, Sylvester Stallone, this one has been squished. His proportions are off just a little bit. So make sure you don't squish him. This text is hard to read and doesn't have much space. Is there any way you could give me some more space? Give this text some more space. Could this image of Sylvester Stallone move over to the left so that it freed up some room here? Could some of your copy be just a little bit smaller? And could you give me one big idea that really contrasted instead of two big ideas that barely contrast? So figure out what is the word or phrase here that you really want to stand out, and use that. I like that you left aligned this to your subject and here to your other subject. He's got a tangent right here at the top of his head where it's just barely skimming. He's got a tangent right here at the top of his head where it's barely skimming. I love how readable this type is up here. This type is nice, readable too. You've got a creative alignment. Go for a strong right or left alignment. You might have to make some of these words a little bit smaller. Think about the space between these lines. I think it could be a little bit tighter, a little bit closer. Is it darkness that you're really wanting to communicate and light? Because it looks like those are a little bit bigger, but they're not enough different to know for sure that those are the main ideas. Also, I understand why you put space between darkness and to reach light between these two lines of text, but that causes a relationship problem because they're so far apart. Aligning them will help because aligning them will unite them even though they're separated, at least in one way. These clouds down here look like they're adding a little more light. I wonder if you want them to be darker clouds instead of lighter clouds. I don't know. Something a little funny about the way these clouds down the bottom are working. But I love the image here on the top. I'd say work down here and then work your typography so you've got a strong alignment, clear contrast, and unified proximity. Kingdom of God or nothing. Okay, nice, clear message. I'd recommend for all of the projects in this class that you don't center align the text. This text is all center aligned, and I would try something different. For example, it might require that you move this tree, but let's say you move the tree to the right a little ways, just a little bit, maybe to here, and then you left aligned the text above the tree to unite it with that. The pioneers over here are, I get the idea, but I wonder if there's enough size for your audience to really see it from a distance what's going on. The tree of life is pretty clear, I think, from a distance, but pioneers not so much. I like the repetition of color here. I think that your lines need a little bit more, they need to be closer. So less leading is what I should have said. Okay, to travel is to 3 Italian words. So I looked this one up and it says to eat, I think. I looked this one up and my Google Translate wouldn't translate it. I know this one has something to do with love, but I don't think these 3 words are parallel, and I don't think that your audience will get it. You know, unless your audience was made of Italians who speak English or English speakers who also speak Italian, I don't know that they would get this. Plus, if this means to eat, I don't get what this image has to do with that. Also, the perspective on these buildings is a little bit strange. I know the Leaning Tower of Pisa is supposed to lean, but this looks like it's like falling into the ocean or something, and this one looks like it's tilting towards us because how everything else feels like it's tilting away from us. So, you know, if your quote was different, it might, the tilting buildings and perspective changes might make more sense. But since I don't know for sure what these this word especially, what it means, I don't have any gestalt. I don't know what your message is and how it's not getting to me. Be sure that you have space for your text. Be sure that there's contrast and alignment. This word doesn't seem like it should be so important. To travel is to, you know, it seems like maybe travel is your big word, your most important word. Let the other words be less, maybe not capitalized, or maybe these three words are your most important words, then let them be really big. Let them really pop. Okay? Don't be afraid of size unless it unless it's crowded. Okay. Okay. I think I'll keep on going. You can always find sunshine amidst the rain. So overall, I love this idea. I love how simple it is, but it all is very gray. Okay, there's not a lot of contrast. This is kind of see-through. This is kind of all mid-tones. You don't have any pure white pixels or any pure black pixels, and so nothing is really popping. All your text is the same size. It's all center aligned. There's not a lot of strength, unity. There's not a lot of visual interest because everything is kind of faded back. So that's what I'd suggest that you do is add some visual interest. Use the principles of design to create contrast, alignment, proximity. And you've got a little repetition here in color. That's good. Okay, next one. Okay, really like this image. It's a nice, strong kind of engagement image with a nice, strong wedding image blended in smoothly to it, but this is a nice, subtle second image. Like that a lot. The text is actually an image as well. That's looks like you put a bevel on it and made it transparent. I like that there's space over here for this text. It's a little bit crowded, so watch that. I'm wondering if I should require you to make your own text. Since this is just an image of text, you haven't really had to deal with text on this project. So if you did have just one message, in fact, maybe that's one concern that I have, because there are so many messages, it's not clear what the central message is. I mean, they do all go together, but to have and to hold, best friends, first kiss, husband and wife, hopelessly devoted, forever love, Mr. and Mrs. Hugs, or Mr. and Mrs. I guess Hugs doesn't go with that. And one of the cardinal rules of typography, of good typography, is to use a maximum of 2 fonts. And you've got a ton of fonts. Some of them are squished. Okay, like this word laughter has been squeezed in. So that's another cardinal rule of typography, to not squeeze text. So I would suggest you redo this text and that you simplify the message. What really is the message? You know, give us a nice quote about marriage or about love. Yeah, and be sure to use the principles of design when you do that. We're not human beings having a spiritual experience, but spiritual beings having a human experience. So nice strong alignment here, but move it over to this side so it unifies this figure in with the text. Also, I'd let spiritual beings be even larger, more contrastive. The image is good. It's just the typography. I'd work a little bit with an alignment and a little bit of contrast, more contrast there. Okay, good. Nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible. Audrey Hepburn. Okay, so you've center aligned the text. I would not center align it. I would right or left align it. You've got a lot of contrast going on in here. So you've got blue to black. And it looks like these are 2 different fonts. Maybe one is bold and one is not. anyway, so that they're really close to each other, but not quite the same. So that contrast isn't working. And then the word is a different font, but the same color. And so it's what happens as I read this is I wonder, what is it that you want to stand out? Is nothing the most important part? Or is impossible the most, or the word the most important? Probably I'm possible is the most important, but it's only got a tiny bit of difference between itself and the word nothing. Uh, so really make I'm possible stand out, and don't have so many changes in the rest of your phrase so that the contrast is simpler and clearer. I think your image is cool. I really like the crop on the gentleman because it's unexpected and it's bold. I'd like to be able to read Audrey Hepburn better, so maybe she could be lighter, but I like that you made her a smaller size. That was a good call. I think that's it. All right, I talked to Alyssa about this one already. Okay, you've center lined your text. All caps generally works for large text, but for a whole paragraph of text, it doesn't work so well because it's harder to read. I'd love to see some contrast in here. I think the montage idea is working. It looks like I guess one confusion here is that it looks like this little girl is looking at her dream or her future with some disdain or some sass, and then the future self is looking back and smiling. So this looks more like remembering the past, but your quote seems like it's more about um, looking to the future. But maybe that's just me, because it's true. She's smiling, and this is really about happiness. So you're probably fine. Your image is probably just fine. Text is a little bit crowded on this edge, not too bad. If it was me, I definitely would not center align it. I would right align it to unify it with this side of the image, and I definitely make something a clear, big message to contrast. This image working well as far as the montage goes, but the text is really, really hard to read. Let me just read out loud. We have the incomprehensible promise of exaltation, worlds without end within our grasp, and it is God's great desire to help us reach it. Dieter F. Uchtdorf. Okay, so great quote. Hard to read because of the dark on dark. So you might need to do something with that. You might have a hard time with light text as well. There needs to be some contrast in here, and especially with Dieter F. Uchtdorf, I like that you've left aligned this, and it's got a strong connection with the image above. Take that hyphen off, make Dieter F. Uchtdorf a lot smaller. For the beauty of the earth, for the beauty of the sky. So why is earth capitalized and skies not capitalized? And you center aligned your text, don't do that. Notice the big space here. Maybe it's between all of the words. But right here, this feels like there's a gap where beauty, earth, beauty, skies all kind of stand on their own. Simply right aligning this so that it unites it with this tree could help a lot. And then align the foliette S pure point also. Somewhere maybe in here would be good. You could take quotation marks off. If you don't take the quotation marks off, be sure that you hang them off of the strong right alignment. Also, this rock looks like it's going up, it's disappearing funny into the sky. I think you've got plenty of montage stuff going on down here. This just feels awkward and unnatural right in that space. An expert in anything was once a beginner. So center aligned text, don't do that. It would be better if you right aligned it, maybe underneath these toe shoes to unite it. It's unfortunate that there's, if the toe shoes could move over a little bit, then the text might have some more space, but text is a little crowded between here and there. You've got a little bit of contrast with italics, but give me more contrast. And really emphasize the most important thing the most. So is expert more important than beginner? Maybe they're exactly the same importance, but pick one. Your audience wants you to tell them where to look. They want you to tell them what your message is, using contrast. The darkness around these toe shoes is a little weird. Is there any way there could be a smoother fade between the two images? Okay, we're almost done. Dane, I noticed when I opened this image that your flag looked a little bit pixelated. So be sure that it's a high quality, high resolution image. And then the same things that I've told everybody on their text. Give me some stronger contrast. Okay, make sure your text has space. Between Thomas Jefferson and the quote, there's no difference in the visual function, the visual look of that quote and the Thomas Jefferson. And there needs to be a difference because they don't function the same. So show me that difference. In fact, I would say don't make Thomas Jefferson script. Because if he's going to need to get smaller, probably to contrast with your quote. You might consider putting your quote up here. Find a place where it has plenty of space. In fact, I wonder about moving this whole image down just a little bit so there's less water, so that you'd have somewhere where there's a lot more space. Other than that, other than the resolution, I think the images are working well together. It's just that typography. That's kind of the theme of this critique. Everybody needs more work on their typography. So looks like a creative alignment. Try a strong left or right alignment using this vertical as the place to align all your text to. Don't use hyphens, okay? Either of those hyphens, unless you're hyphenating a word, and then try not to hyphenate words. So always try and stay away from hyphens. You've got contrast here, but there's a lot of different contrast. So you've got font contrast, you've got weight contrast, you've got size and color contrast. This contrast I think is working the best of all, but up here the contrast is confusing what you want to be the main idea. Also make sure your text has space. Right now it's a little bit trapped there at the top. It could use some more room. And one way to do that would be to make the other text a lot smaller. That could free up a lot of space. Travel feels like it's all by itself. I wonder if it said something like this: remember, big word, that happiness is a way, or that happiness, that could be on one line, is a way of travel. That could be on one line, not a destination. Yeah, I like the quote a lot. It looks like you do need a dash, but use an M dash, an EM dash. The way to do that on a Mac is Option Shift hyphen. That will give you the right kind of dash. Okay. And then I'd say just don't use any hyphen there. Love this image. Okay. This is the kind of montage that I think feels just really natural and nice and beautiful. And your text has space. The only issue that I have with it, I really like it. I like how simple it is. But give me some contrast. Okay, I think the word harmony maybe is the one that you could make it different. Okay, be sure that you leave this nice space around it though. This space above it especially, it's just beautiful. It really focuses me in on your text. Nice job on that one. Don't center a line. Simplify the contrast that you've got going on up here. I'm not positive what you mean by integrity. Let's see. Till I die, I will not remove mine integrity from me. I'm not sure what that means. What's going on here? Is kissing not, can you not have integrity if you're kissing, or are they cheating on somebody? I love this image. I'm just not sure what this part has to do with that message, if that makes any sense. I would take the parentheses off of this reference as well. And then again, simplify your contrast. So you have one big idea instead of two big ideas. And then alignment, either right or left align that. When life gives you more than you can stand, okay, check that word then. I'm pretty sure that's not the type of then that you need. When life gives you more than you can stand, kneel. It seems like you need a comma or something. Stand, kneel. Yeah, there needs to be something that separates. Maybe a little bit of space. I'd also make the word kneel a different size, because otherwise it's too similar. You can have stronger contrast there. You've got 3 images working, and it seems like this one is more tied into the quote than the scriptures. I think I would take the scriptures out and just simplify your image. Okay, and I probably already said don't center align it. I would say right align it so that it unifies these two sides. And nice job on the white space. It is in our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. Cool image. I can't actually tell where your montage happened. Just make sure that you do have some blending. Was this Aurora Borealis in here before? Or was the star image in there before? I can't tell. It looks like the image was all one originally. There's got to be 2 images. I might ask to see your Photoshop document so you can prove it to me. But nice job there, making it look like one image if it wasn't. I love this contrast where Aristotle Onassis is really, really small. Love that. Because then I can tell these 2 pieces of text function differently. I wonder if you want to emphasize darkest moments or if you want to just emphasize the light, because this is an inspiring message, an uplifting message, and darkest moments is important, but I think your message is the light, see the light, or focus, maybe even play with that a little bit and give me more contrast. You've got a little contrast. It's a good contrast between the script and this old style / modern font, but give me more. Okay, keep the space though. Keep that great white space. And I think that's it. It seems like when I went through these the first time, I saw more spelling mistakes. Everybody, please be sure you check your spelling. Please be sure you check your resolution. And if you have any questions, please be sure to come see me. I'd be happy to work with you and help you, give you more feedback if you'd like it. And have a great day. Thanks.